Go ahead.
Mate, I was all week. All week, man. I was shitting at me. I was worried about Sunday, but
I forgot I fucking shot yous on it. Fucking again, I'm uninstalling. No, it's my fault. I forgot I shot yous on it. Such a fucking dick. I forgot. I forgot I fucking shot yous on it. Fucking again, I'm uninstalling. No, it's my fault. I forgot.
Fucking shit.
roll the intro.
Boom! Best intro ever. Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the Football Big Podcast with me, Fennan, and my good friend Mayhem. I imagine you are in high spirits, my friend, this evening.
Yeah, I think obviously, I think for maybe the majority, the game yourself, you don't really enjoy it. No matter what the result is, you don't really enjoy it until a few hours after, and you've kind of settled down. You can sort of bask in the glory. There's just like a big sigh of relief if you get the job done, and then you only really start to enjoy it a few hours after, and watching the game back without the emotions and everything in it, and you know the outcome, and then the next couple of days after when you can really bask in it, and you're bumping into people at work and on the other side, it's when it really becomes enjoyable. But definitely in higher spirits than we were for the return last week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a long second half, I can imagine, as well.
Yeah, look, I think we come into the game, the lineup didn't inspire many. Liam Scales, um, and I think from all Celtic fans out there, we're sorry if you were one of the few that stood by him and said he was good enough. You were correct. As of right now, we're recording this on the 4th of September. That may age badly, but um, as of today, as of yesterday, he obviously won man of the match, and he was fantastic. But in obviously the injuries that we had, obviously Lagerbielke was in, and you know Scales, Hart's been questioned. Obviously, we had Alistair Johnson back, which is massive. Taylor has been questioned whether or not he can fulfil that role under Brendan. McGregor had been called out rightly so, for the few games he'd played. You hadn't been involved; the game had passed him by, um, and there was question marks over other players as well. And only one new signing made the bench. Palmer, the Honduran boy, made the bench, didn't make it on. So he was obviously just there for a front row seat.
Well, we just know his name now, and that's what matters most this episode.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing that Bernardo, the Portuguese midfielder that we signed, that's his first name. I haven't locked down his
Paulo
surname.
Bernardo. Can I just note, by the way, I bought him. I don't think it might have been FM22. The guy turns into a monster.
Well,
But
Football Manager doesn't often get it wrong,
it does.
unless you're Freddie Adu, and then you're looking at that game with nice eyes from a few years ago.
Trying
But
to get you optimistic. That's all about.
but yeah, so obviously the with a good record, Portuguese loans from Benfica, but still don't get too attached. Repeat it over and over again. And then Nat Phillips, obviously coming up from Liverpool, initially for 6 months until January, and we'll see what happens at that stage once we put everyone back fully fit. But it comes up highly rated. From what I've seen from Liverpool fans, I expect him to do really well up here. So we've got those in the door, and none of them get on. So when the team comes out, then inspire confidence. But in the first half, especially, Callum McGregor was fantastic. Got on the ball, dictated the pace, a real captain's performance. Really took the game by the scruff. Was brave on the ball. Got us up the field. You know, I can remember one ball specifically in the first half that the outside of his boot intricately through to Abada, that then played the ball across on Kyogo's first chance where he tries to do the back heel. I'll not be too harsh on him, but I don't know what the fuck he was doing. And whether it was a little bit behind him and he thought he couldn't hit it, I don't know, but it certainly looked as if he maybe could have. And yeah, I think we have real good control of the game. Obviously, the offside goal where Dessers is miles offside from the flick and then he squares it to Matondo and they tap it in. The first time they were up and bouncing around for no reason, justly ruled out, and then obviously Lager Bielka, the talking point of
that was the
game.
Massive talking point, and a lot of well, I wouldn't say controversy because I thought it genuinely was a foul. He catches his rear ankle, and I mean, I understand like the position that Lager Bielka is in, where he's got his back in his own half, he's lost the ball, but at the end of the day, a foul is a foul wherever you are on the field, and the goal rightfully doesn't stand.
I think Brandon called out as well. You know, he takes one too many touches. He dawdles on the ball a wee bit too much, and that gives Dessers the opportunity to put the foot in. There's been plenty of people coming out and giving their opinion, and it's divided. I think by the laws of the game, it's a foul. You know, obviously, if it happened to you, you'd probably think the opposite way. But I think the laws of the game clearly state it. There's been a few incidences like this involving Rangers where the consistent approach is this has always been a foul. So Sands away at St Mirren last season gets a foul for a very similar situation where he's going to kick the ball and the St Mirren player puts his foot in. You could argue in that case that Sands he wasn't in as much control of the ball as Lager Bielka was here. The ball was further away from him, still gets the free kick, and St Mirren didn't get a penalty. And the Rangers fans quoted the law book at us that day of why it shouldn't have been a penalty to St Mirren. They seem to have forgot that one.
Well, what goes around comes around.
If they want to reverse back and have a wee look at that, it's a difference. Also, you know, there was the game at home, I think, against Dortmund, where they score a goal and it was ruled out for exactly another similar situation like this, and UEFA explained the ruling. So I couldn't really give a shite what Dermot Gallagher, the retired referee that dawdles up to Sky Sports, is saying. UEFA has given clear instruction as to why it was a foul. We've looked at the obstruction law and the fact that Besser doesn't play the ball, and he then impedes the player who's coming down in a swinging motion. So it seems pretty clear cut, but obviously, you know, the fact they go on to score, I think they're always going to feel aggrieved. But yeah, I think it was a foul, but you know, Lager Bielka dawdles a little bit too long and gives him the opportunity to get in, and obviously caused the controversy. He could have played it back to Hart, could have played it quicker, and it would never happen. But anyway, that was really the only two moments. Apart from that, we controlled it, like we said. You know, Kyogo's trying to do a back heel. I think Matt O'Reilly slips him in, and he's one-on-one with the keeper and slips it past, and Goldson clears it off the line.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're in good control of the game, and then as it looked like we wasn't going to capitalise on that control in the first half, the ball comes out. Matt O'Reilly does like a flat header back through. John Suter's slow getting out, and Kyogo's in. Hits it first time, flies past Butland. And this is where VAR's killing the game, because I didn't even celebrate that goal, because in my head, it was like, I think he's off. So I was celebrating a replay. So didn't even get the magic of, you know, bouncing around in enjoyment, because I thought it would be given as offside.
No, I understand.
And we're going 1-0. I think, you know, justly for our control in the game and for how we imposed ourselves. I think first half, Rangers got their tactics massively wrong. Just allow Calamogo far too much space, and they've done good jobs in other games of nullifying him and dropping in and, you know, having that big work ethic around him. They didn't do that in the first half. He dictated the play and really took the game away from him in that first half. Then we went into the second half. They obviously swapped it up. They made some tactical changes, and they were certainly better in the second half, which was always going to be the case. You're never going to go to Ibrox and dominate for 90 minutes. They're going to have spells, and they did. They did have chances. That I think the one that flashes to mind is the Lammers, or whatever his name is, chance where he goes round Hart and then fires it into the side net. Should be better. And then I think the other one is like Cantwell at the back post, hits a tame volley at Hart. But barring that, nothing outside of those two. Whether you could call Cantwell's clear cut, I don't know. But outside of that, nothing mega clear cut. They seem to be bringing on attacking player after attacking player, subbed off Roof to and echo a chorus of boos, ring him round. So, but obviously the Rangers fans voicing their opinion on Michael Beale's substitutions, but huffed and puffed without really creating anything. And I thought that pretty much everyone really did have a fantastic game. Again, we go back to, Beza Maeda, and I think it's becoming more apparent under Brendan, and when he's probably being asked to do a wee bit more, that he severely lacking in technical ability, but what he does bring is this energy,
work ethic,
and pins Tavernier back. And I've said multiple times that working hard isn't enough to be, Celtic football player. It just isn't. But you can see why he's utilised in this game. One of their main attacking threats is Tavernier delivering those balls from deep, and Maeda works and nullifies that massively. So, but on the other hand, what we do see is just his real lack of ability when he's in the final third or taking a man on. So we'll see what Palmer brings to the team. Obviously, he's in as a left winger, so we'll see. He's got, obviously, we're going international break now, so we'll see him after the return. But outside of that, I don't think Turnbull had a great game. I thought it was a wee bit anonymous, to be honest. But Matt O'Reilly, Callum McGregor, superb. I thought Abada did well up against a very physical left back in Dujon Sterling, whatever the boy's name is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had a decent game. Kyogo does what he does. He probably could have had, said on the day, he probably could have had 2 or 3, because he has the chance in the second half where he goes through and cuts back and blazes over. But it was more of a Kyogo performance on the shoulder of the last man, running through, causing problems. And Hart as well, when he was called upon, was strong. Alistair Johnson obviously went off, and Ralston come on, and Taylor ended up coming off as well, and Bernabé. So in the end, we ended with the defence of Ralston, Lagerbielka, Scales, and Bernabé, and we keep a clean sheet with that, which I think is horrific if you're a Rangers fan.
Yeah.
And fantastic if it's us, because we're only going to get stronger. When we get the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers is back, when we get Nat Phillips in, when Alistair Johnson's back to playing full 90 minutes, when Rio Hatate comes back, when Palmer gets settled, we've got, Yang come on, and when he starts to play more, we've still got to see the Australian boy that we've signed, Tillo. He's still not fit. Hopefully we'll see him after the return. So those kind of things are all positives. They're bringing on their £6 million striker Danilo, and he does nothing. So I think that's why there was the reaction there was at Ibrox. They were obviously booed off, very angry, and we'll see what the future holds for Michael Beale. But certainly, if you were him, I think you'd be a wee bit worried. Two of the first 4 league games you've lost, one away to Kilmarnock, and one to your biggest rivals, topped on the fact that you were embarrassed in Eindhoven through the week as well. It's not been the start that I'm sure he envisioned. He does a lot of talking. They all do. Tavernier in his post-match press conference mentioned how disappointed he was again. Yep, man's forever disappointed when he plays us. TikTok, Todd was a wee bit quiet in the game and on social media.
Well,
So um, they've obviously got to go and pick himself up, and they have a familiar feeling of in a big game when it matters, when the season isn't dead and it isn't a dud game. In these big games when it matters, when everything comes to fruition, they end up on the wrong side of the scoreline. And that's us 4 points clear going into the break. And it's an international break now, so Scotland isn't, the national team doesn't encapsulate as like England and Wales does. It's very broken and divided up there. So a lot of Rangers fans won't care about the international break, and they'll be stewing over the result. And that's why it hurts a lot more. But when these breaks come, and then you have to stew on that, you don't have a game in a week to go and set that right. So they have a big game when they come back. And if they were to go a goal down there or something was to happen early, you can see it turning real toxic. So the pressure will be cranked up, and I'm all for it. Long may it continue.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's a massive weight off of Brendan Rodgers' shoulders as well. Like going into that Rangers game, you felt there was a lot of pressure on Brendan. With the topsy-turvy start that Celtic have had. We go back to the Viaplay Cup fixture. We go back to the St Johnstone game at home. Like he was really in the firing line.
Look,
around
I said,
especially like most of the Celtic faithful.
Yeah, and I think he maybe underestimated just how difficult it was going to be to get back on side. The result on Sunday goes a long way to getting a lot of people back on side. But we just wasn't playing like a Brendan Rodgers team. It was, like I said, the midfield was completely missed out. We were playing long ball football at times, expecting Abada to win headers against hatchet merchants, playing for Kilmarnock and St Johnstone. Like, how is it ever going to work? Sunday was far more reminiscent of the style of play that we expected to see under Brendan. Don't get me wrong, there's still a long way to go, but I'd said when I was talking about the St Johnstone game that if we'd have took one of the chances, it would have been a 6-7 out of 10, and there wouldn't have been any real gripes with the performance, because I thought from keeper to penalty area we were okay. We created decent chances, we just didn't put one away. So I wasn't getting too carried away. The big performance that was disappointing was Kilmarnock, and then obviously the finishing against St Johnstone. But I thought from keeper to box, there was a clear change and transition, and we were creating, where Kilmarnock would look like we could have played for 2 days and not created anything. And then on Sunday it was definitely the best performance since it's been back. So Callum called it out in one of his post-match press conference to say that it means nothing if we don't kick on from here and go and really stamp our authority on the league. So that's that's what we've got to go and do now, and really make sure that we pick up pivotal results domestically, because obviously we have the Champions League to look forward to.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate test as well. See you being drawn in a group along with Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and Feyenoord.
I mean, you take it, wouldn't you? You
really would. I mean, if we look at Group F and Newcastle have got a mountain to climb in their group, I think Celtic's group doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, I don't either.
On paper, of course.
Yeah, of course. And they're in the Champions League, so it's going to be tough games, of course. But we've been to Rome in recent times and picked up a result. We haven't played Feyenoord in a long time. Last time I think was 1970 in the European Cup final that we ended up losing. So it's been a long time since we played them in a European match. Atletico are obviously, the big dogs in the group that will, be happy with the draw as well. But when you're looking at those pot A teams, you wanted Feyenoord or Seville. That's who you wanted.
Yeah.
And we got one of them. And then, when you were looking at pot 2, Atletico, you're like, all right, that's going to be tough. Looking in pot 3, Lazio, I'll take it. and then we got it. So look, all the games are going to be tough because you're in the elite competition, but absolutely no reason why we can't compete with those teams, especially at home. And then we'll see what we can pick up on the road. So you're optimistic. There's no Real Madrid in there. There's no Bayer Leverkusen. Outside of Atletico. I don't really think there's even anyone on that level. So I think we're in a decent spot where we can go and get some positive results. And who knows where we end up, whether we get third and drop into the Europa League, or if we were to somehow make it through the group, who knows? But yeah, be some good nights at Celtic Park.
Yeah, and there always is as well, regardless of who is in Celtic's group. And I don't know, I feel there's a much stronger sense of optimism this year round compared to last year. It was always, as soon as Real Madrid was drawn into the group last year, you already knew it was going to be very difficult to come away with at least a point at Celtic Park. But then you had the likes of Leipzig in your group, who had a good squad around them. We see a lot of them been cherry picked by top clubs in Europe, and then with Shakhtar as well, which is always a potential banana peel fixture. Whereas I don't know, it feels as if that Atletico, if you catch them napping on a bad night, you could cause some surprises. Lazio are just scummy bastards, so fuck them. And then Feyenoord, I feel, if we look at both teams on paper, it's pretty tight head to head. So there has got a strong sense where Celtic, if things go their way, they could, again, at the very least, third would be the aim for them.
Yeah, look, I think if you end up getting from Pot A the champions, and look, Feyenoord will be looking at the group and saying the same thing, and so will Lazio. If they could have, they wouldn't have wanted Newcastle, and they wouldn't have wanted, anyone but Feyenoord. So that those teams will be looking at that group and saying the same thing. So we're all going in with that optimism. Like, anytime you go away in Europe, it's going to be tough. Going away to Feyenoord is going to be difficult. Going away to Lazio is going to be difficult. And obviously, going away to Atletico, they're all going to be extremely tough games, and we don't travel well. We're fully aware of this. So it's still going to be a tough group. We're still going to have to play really well. But yeah, I think there's optimism. So we got that draw, and then obviously we've got the result on Sunday. So there's an optimistic feel about the place. So yeah, let's hope may long it continue. Kick on, tie things up domestically, and then go and enjoy the big nights in Europe and try and have an impact and leave a mark on some of the games, and we'll see where that takes us. Hopefully, at the very least, third, and then some games in Europe post Christmas.
And hope that Celtic aren't another Scottish side that gets thumped by a Dutch team.
Yeah, that's the marker that's been laid out by PSV. So we've got to go and restore some credibility there. So let's go and I think we're in the group stage. We've earned that. Go and enjoy these games and perform on the biggest stage. This is why we get the likes of Nat Phillips through the door and these kind of boys to give them this platform. That's why the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers is here, and we've been able to retain Kyogo to play in these kind of games. So go and enjoy it, and leave a good mark on it. Don't just be good for 60 minutes like we were against Madrid, or like we were away at Leipzig and in the game, and then throw it away. So go and impose our style, be brave, and enjoy the nights. And I think we're certainly good enough to, especially at home, give at least two of those teams a real test at Celtic Park. Whether Atletico are a step above, we'll have to see. But we know how Simeone's teams play. Very structured and rigid and tough to break down and sharp on the counter attack. So but we'll see on the night. But it'll definitely be some great games to be at.
Yeah, and on that note there, when you mentioned Atletico being structured, a team that isn't so structured defensively. No. To be fair, the week started off very, very positive. We played Birmingham away at St Andrews in the Carabao Cup, and go figure, there was no TV coverage of the game, and it would be the one game that we play where we play like prime Barcelona and actually come out on top. And so, yeah, great start to the week, beating Birmingham in the Carabao Cup in a competition that nowadays we don't really go too far in anyway. And so we have a third round tie to look forward to. We go to Ewood Park against Blackburn, which by all means won't be easy, and it'll be a fixture that we'll have to look forward to again in the league as the season goes on. And then to top that, Jack Simpson out the door finally. I spoke my piece on him last week, and the club have acted on it. He is gone, and we got our new centre back in as I wished for in Jonathan Panzo on loan from Forest, who I thought was a big upgrade from what we had in Jack Simpson. So again, left-footed defender who can be utilised as a centre back, or he can play out on the left as he demonstrated in the Ipswich game. Probably not a best example to use, and going into the Ipswich game, played brilliantly. Like the first 50 minutes or so, completely on top, played really good football, caused a lot of problems and a lot of brilliant individual performances to specifically note to Carlin Grant, Aaron Ramsey. I mean, he's always brilliant. He's always brilliant, and I think with Siopis coming in, allowed him to have that bit more freedom going forward to support the wide man and Ugbo up front. No, we started with Mate up top this game. Mate, who was one that I had praised in the past, just seemed to be a bit isolated in this game, and Ugbo was a better fit. But we went 2-0 up, and there's
Mate misses a big chance in the first half. He misses
a big chance, and he missed a big chance against Leicester as well, and so I can't.
4 yards out, I know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but he's middle of the goal.
Yeah, he's middle of the goal, and he times his run. He times his jump completely wrong. Gets two under the ball and misses the goal completely. Massive opportunity, and
scores that. Then I think when Rousey puts it in the bottom corner, that's the game gone.
Pretty much game over, yeah. And so when Rousey does put us 2-0 up, and we take our foot off the gas and sit off Ipswich a bit, and we just invited way too much pressure and showed how vulnerable we are defensively.
The first Ipswich goal is props, you can be critical. Should have got out to him, should have pressed him. It's a really good finish.
Yeah, no, it is.
The other two goals are utter dog shit. You'd be pissed off conceding them on a Sunday, mate. Like Sunday League football would be pissed off conceding those two goals. They were utter dog shit.
And the fact that they're shit for Sunday League just shows how bad they really are. And yeah, I was literally about to say props to the first goal. Nathan Broadhead, I've got a soft spot for anyway, with him being a Welsh international. Brilliant finish, very identical to the Barry Bannon goal last week against Wednesday. But again, you give them too much space and they punish you, and that's exactly what they did. And then the next two goals by Ladapo are utter dreadful. Just pure and utterly dreadful.
I mean, the third goal maybe the third goal, if you were trying to be very, very, very nice, you can say is very fortunate on his behalf. Keeper should do better, but it kind of backs up. But that second goal, if you conceded that on like a video game, you'd be screaming out how unrealistic it is.
Your control would be out the window.
To the half-assed clearance that puts it into the danger area, and then from that angle to get a toe on it and squeeze in. My God, it's poor.
It is, yeah, absolutely dire. And I've expressed this for a very long time. Defensively, we haven't got a clue. We're vulnerable in every aspect possible, awareness, durability, structure, everything. We just cannot we cannot see a game out. And even when we were playing Birmingham as well, they go down to 10 men and yet we still managed to ship one goal past them. Just thankfully that we took our chance up the other end in the final few minutes, and that's what killed the game off. But if we're going to take the foot off the pedal, we've still got to frustrate whoever we're playing. We still should have caused problems with Ipswich. But the problem is that when you give them too much space and time on the ball and allow them to play to their strengths, then they're going to take advantage of us when it comes of us having no possession. Because I thought on the ball, I thought we looked brilliant. I think going forward and the way we are in transition nowadays under Errol Bullet, it's the best we've looked in a very long time. But it's just without the ball, and where there's taking a cautious approach, and then there's go on then. Skip past 2 or 3 of us, get a ball in near post, and then allow the likes of Ladapa, who came on for bloody George Hurst as well, who went off injured in the first half. That's the only reason why Ladapa was on for most of the game. And so, and it's something I should be used to, being a massive Football Manager player, and we all know that 2-0 scorelines are always dangerous to keep hold of and not to throw away, and to see it in real life just makes you feel sick, utterly sick to the stomach seeing that happen. And going into this game, we weren't going to write off Ipswich by all means, because they've started off fantastically to the Championship campaign. We went second in the league as well, so it was never going to be an easy fixture to go into. Portman Road as well was quite a fortress in itself as well, especially when they fucking come back from 2-0 down, that's for sure. And so, it was a massive sight for sore eyes, and it's a conflicting feeling, because going into international break, I think it was a good in the sense, so we can just regroup and focus going into the South Wales derby, which is our next fixture. But then there's always that negative sense of pure anxiety and having flashbacks of what has happened in the past, specifically in the last 4 fixtures against the Jacks, where we haven't come out on top in any of them, not even taken a point.
I think that has a massive. It does have a massive impact on, even though it's new players and a new manager and new ideas. I think even with the supporters and just the surrounding people at the football club that know that, in recent history, this hasn't been, a good fixture for the club. It holds a lot of weight, and I think you see that, in the derby on Sunday. Sometimes a team that just knows how to win these kind of football matches against people that are new to the derby and are trying to pick up the pace. What you do have, obviously, is someone like Aaron Ramsey that is obviously going to absolutely put everything into this match. You just hope that he doesn't get too caught up. First one he's played in a long time, and he doesn't do something rash if the game is not going the right way within the
which
first
we've seen in the past in Callum Robinson as well.
Yeah, so you just hope. But look, he's played in North London derbies. He's played in derbies out in Italy. He's played in other derbies as well. Wasn't too successful in those. So hopefully,
I'll keep telling you.
So hopefully, has a wee bit more success. In a couple of weeks' time. But I think he'll be massive. He'll obviously install it in the players just how big a game this is. Anyone that's new to the club and hasn't experienced this fixture before, he's obviously going to rile them up. You just hope that he keeps the cool head. And although he's played in, like I said, he's played in Glasgow derbies and he's played in derbies in Italy and he's played in North London derbies, this one's very close to his heart. As obviously a Cardiff boy, would have grown up going to these games. So just hope the red mist doesn't descend. We've seen it. Even the most seasoned pros when they get into these games and they mean something to them. You see, the likes of Steven Gerrard on the Merseyside derby, or when they're playing United, how many times did all of a sudden he do something mega out of character and jump into a tackle? So you just hope that he keeps his head, and if he does, then you see, like you said, for the first 16 minutes, the impact he had. The way he took the first goal was beautiful, like absolute, just
Oh,
class. The way he
stroked
stroked
at home.
it in.
It was just like art.
And you hope he can have. Does he have that like Craig Bellamy moment? You know, and obviously I take it it's at the Cardiff City Stadium. The fact he was at
It is
Portman
at
Road.
home, yeah, and despite Swansea not having the best of starts to the season, this is a game they always get ramped up for. Because we've seen it in the past as well. Like every single South Wales derby we've gone into in recent history, Swansea have always been not on good form, but yet then they just manage to show up. And there's a lot of layers you can take to it as well. You could take into account like their poor form. Joel Piro's fucked off the Leeds, but like even past those, bloody what's his name, Russell Martin shipped off to South. He jumped ship to Southampton, and Michael Duff has come up from promotion chasing Barnsley from last season, and so I haven't, again, like being a Cardiff fan, like I don't keep too many tabs on the Jacks, but again, like he's one of those individuals where he's come up from a tier below it, and it's been quite divided in terms of has the jump been too big for him. I don't know, but this is the thing. But I feel there's too many individuals around that club that see the magnitude of what this game really means to them.
Yeah, like I think they'll even with their start, I think they'll definitely go in as favourites. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of factors that Cardiff have gone in their favour. Though the last derby was, obviously a real difficult one where you let it slip very late on, but you was more than a match from.
No, it's because Keith Strauss a fucking scrawny little cunt. That's why.
But it was more than a match from. The game was, pretty. You did a lot in the game that you can draw confidence from. Obviously, it's a new management team now, and there's a lot of new faces in the door. But I think from that team, if that team can compete, you've got stronger. Like you said, on the ball, I think it'll be. We know what way Swansea will want to play because that's the way they always want to play. So it will be about who can get on the ball and who can control the game. They're going to look to play possession football. You're going to look to put a lot through, obviously, Aaron Ramsey. But the crowd will be up. It'll be white hot. It'll be intense. And that these games are massive. And they're what. If you're not going to go and push for a promotion, and you're going to look to have a solid season in the mid-table, then a lot of judgment is going to come from the Cardiff fans on these games. Massive games. Against the likes of Bristol City and the likes of Swansea. Right, if we're not going to be in the play of contention, which you maybe look at the moment with the defence you have and the way you're looking, you maybe look like that's one step too far at the moment. Right, can we go have a solid season and can we go get a positive result against the likes of Swansea and Bristol? And that's not to say that if you get a successful result and a couple of weeks in and with the defenders you bring in and you solid up, that the season isn't going to be a successful one. But certainly early in the season, this could even, it's the old cliche, but it could really springboard your season into life.
Well, this is the thing, and like looking, once you get past that red mist state of mind, you still got to take into account that it's still more than early days into the season anyway. Okay, like we didn't have a good performance against QPR. We came up short against Ipswich towards the end, but again, we're only a handful of games into the season, and you just feel that if the structure of the defence is part of the process of where that we need to remain patient on, then so be it. Like I feel, anyone could easily step up from where we are right now in the season so far, including Swansea as well. They're going through a transition themselves under a new manager, and again, it's going to be a completely new regime to them. And so, with that being said, like with Bullet and Michael Duff being new heads at the helm, for both clubs, it should well be like a fierce encounter and a very head-to-head counter where you couldn't tell the difference between the two. But ultimately, we've just got to counteract whatever game plan they come with, which they have done in the last few games. They've come with a plan and they've executed it perfectly. Whereas we've gone in with that mentality of just wanting to beat them.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of teams that haven't taken off yet. I dare say that Middlesbrough fans aren't saying they're not going to push for promotion. They've had an awful start, so there's a few points on the board, but yeah, massive game. But look, you've got you've a couple of weeks now to get ready for it, to get solely focused on that game, and obviously, hopefully, everyone comes back from international break fit and ready to go, and then it's all eyes on that game.
Yeah, and I'm not emotionally ready for it in the slightest. Again, like going into the international break, I haven't really been quite fond of watching Wales as of late because we haven't played well whatsoever, and the fixtures that are basically friendlies anyway, and so there's no excitement behind that either. So I'm looking to sort of take a step away from football for the next week. I don't know, take up gardening or something. Just be out on the balcony with Maria planting zucchini. I don't know, but it is a matter of wait and see, and just hope that it does. The one hope I just have, like, don't make it 5 in a row. 4 was bad enough, 3 was bad enough, and 2 was bad enough. Like, getting the double was really, in itself, a real dagger to the heart. So, but we have to wait and see. And just hope for the best. It's a late Saturday game as well, which is quite bizarre. A late Saturday game. Like, I really thought they put it on an early Sunday.
Sure, the Cardiff police force are happy about that.
Oh, they're buzzing, mate. Yeah. Everyone been out on the piss all day, so yeah. Good luck to the Cardiff Met. So.
They're gonna need it.
But let's move on to the big league that everyone wants to hear about, is the Premier League. I think the best team to start off with, I'm going to start off with Chelsea. Big bucks spent, a lot of new faces through the door, a complete overhaul at the club, and from what looked to be a turning point last week, beating Luton by 3-0, it took another 2 steps back over this past weekend with a 1-0 defeat at home to Nottingham Forest, with a goal from a new individual at Forest as well, who, again, just like Chelsea, like to spend bucks on a whole new squad entirely, and one of those players being Anthony Elanga got himself on the score sheet and came away with 3 points at Stamford Bridge. What were your thoughts, man?
I think Elanga's looked decent at Forest.
He's a good player, Elanga. I like him.
When he come on, I think that's when Forest had their best spell away at Arsenal as well. When he come on, I haven't seen too much of him in the other games, but obviously had a good game here. Strange, isn't it, with Chelsea? Something just seems broken. The same way it seems broken at United. Like, you could have anyone in there, and it just doesn't seem to click at the moment. And a team that would have, in years gone by, just absolutely dispatched teams like Forest with ease. These results seem to be cropping up more and more often. And I think, on one hand, it's obviously Chelsea will be majorly disappointed, but I think you called it out. Forest, it just shows the level of the league and how it is a wee bit ironic. All these people kicking off about the Saudi league, but you've got Nottingham Forest prizing people away from PSV that are Champions League group stage team to come and essentially fight relegation with them. You just drop 40 million euro, whatever it was, on players, and you're finishing whatever they finish at 14th in the Premier League. So it does underline how strong the league is, that they can go and do this and get a result at Stamford Bridge. But yeah, I don't know. There just seems to be something off with Chelsea. No matter who's there, no matter what they try and do, they're just, I don't know. A lot of people picked them for top 4, I don't think they will, and maybe really they need to be patient. But you're not going to get that patience at Chelsea. You've seen at Arsenal, the patience Arteta was given and the project that he was building, and they're obviously reaping the benefits of that from last season and this season. But they need that kind of build, and we know that Pochettino isn't going to get that kind of time if he's losing at home to Nottingham
Exactly.
Forest.
And there's one particular figure that will stand out saying that Poch will not get time at Chelsea. 1.02 billion spent under Todd Bowley so far. He ain't going to get time whatsoever because they got two midfielders there in Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo who, I mean, that's 250 odd million wrapped up there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe I haven't watched enough of Brighton, and maybe a Brighton fan would tell me differently. But like, it seemed an incredible amount of money for that boy, and I think that Basuma is a better player and always has been a better player, and they got nowhere near that. Um, so I was a wee bit, I was a wee bit shocked that the people that were being linked and they were going for was the likes of Casado and that Lavia from Southampton, and they brought these two in. And I know that defensive mid isn't the easiest place to go and get someone, but if you're spending the money that you're spending on Casado for as a team that wants to win things and wants to be, at the top end and in the elite competitions, I think you could have gone and got somebody else that really thought, well, that's a statement signing. You look at all of their signings, and clearly there's parameters they have to adhere to. Clearly there's a structure that they want to follow, but you're not really looking at it again. All right, he's a player.
This is it.
He's going to come in and improve them. Like if you're playing, if you've got Enzo Fernandez and you're playing him in that six, and you're going to play with three, and you want two to push on, like, Casado, is he going to compete with Fernandez? Are you going to play him further forward? Like, where does he fit in? You brought Lavia. How does this boy get a game?
Yeah.
You've got all these other people kicking about the club. Like, it just seems a little bit mad. The boy up top, Jackson, like, is he going to go and score you 20 goals? It's going to put you where you want to be? I'm not sure.
I mean, if he does, then a lot of it will come down to how Raheem Sterling performs week in, week out. I think if there's one saving grace from that Chelsea side at the moment is Raheem Sterling's performances thus far. I think he's.
That's what I mean. They've gone and spent all this money, and then actually the boy that you're looking to rely on is one of the first people you sign.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brought for whatever 40, 50 million from City, and then you've gone and absolutely barraged, thrown money, and really, when you look at the team, you think, all right, like, fair enough, he's a player. Now, look, there could be Chelsea fans that say you don't know what you're talking about. This guy's absolutely class. I don't watch him week in, week out, but from the outsider kind of looking in, there wasn't anyone where you kind of went, all right, I can see that he's a player. And the way that that Arsenal have just gone out and gone and got Declan Rice. And I've said plenty of times I don't think Declan Rice is £100 million, but he definitely improves him. And you go, all right, yeah, fair enough. He's going to come in and improve you. Does Casado improve over Enzo Fernandez? Does Lavia? I don't know. Jackson, could you not have got Lukaku back in there? Could you not have put your arm around him? On top form, if you're comparing him on top form, is he a better player than Lukaku? But what's the problem with him? Because you're not selling him, you're just loaning him. All these wingers that you've brought in, Mudryk and all this, and, Raheem Sterling's your boy you're going to. Yeah, seems strange.
I don't know. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are in that boat as well, where they're just hoping for a similar story to what Arsenal had, and that is trust in the process. Going under massive transition, spending shit tons of money on all these players who who were regarded as hot property at the clubs they came from. You know, Caicedo, who obviously was absolutely adored by Brighton, and I think the interest that he attracted from all these top European clubs just bolstered the price tag that Chelsea resulted in paying. And like you said, is Caicedo really that worth that value of player? And then you see, Liverpool. You see Liverpool, for example, who've just gone and bought Ryan Gravenberch for just over 30 million.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be. And again, I'm saying that because of again the kind of reputation that he obviously had at Ajax and went to Bayern, didn't play there much, but that seems like fantastic business, and you wonder why they were dicking about bidding what they were bidding for Caicedo if they had this. I mean, the rumor was that obviously they had identified Tchouaméni that went to Madrid and he wasn't playing, and there was a possibility he was going to become available at the back end of the window. That didn't materialise, and that's maybe why they were playing chicken with Brighton, weren't they going to bid, and then they did, and they went in for Lavia. He was pissed off. He was second choice, so he went to be second choice at Chelsea. I'm sure there was a lot of money involved on his 27-year contract. And then all of a sudden they pulled the rabbit from the hat and got Gravenberch. But I mean, that feels like if you were picking between the two, and again, someone may correct me, but it feels like that would have been your primary target anyway, and you've saved yourself there the guts of 70 million.
Yeah, and I feel like we've missed something here in Romeo Lavia. This is a guy who was highly rated at Southampton, but wasn't the standout star like Ward-Prowse was. A defensive midfielder who is there to imagine to be box-to-box, break-up play, and you got relegated with them.
I didn't even know who the boy was. And all that shows is that I don't watch the league enough, I get that. I didn't even know who the boy was. When they were linked, I didn't even know he played for Southampton.
I only knew about him because of Football Manager, and he does turn into a bit of a monster, but that's not the point. I don't understand what has warranted Chelsea paying £60 million for this boy.
Especially when West Ham have gone and got... What did they get Ward-Prowse for?
Oh, it was about between 40, 50 odd.
Like, Ward-Prowse are kicking about for that price, and this was going for that, and he's slotted into that West Ham team, and they look... I watched them on Friday night simply because it was, Luton's first home game, and
fantastic piece of business from West Ham.
At midfield looks special. Obviously the betting scandals worked out beautifully for him because Lucas Paqueta, he's a player, and they've got him in there next to Ward-Prowse, Alvarez from Ajax. They've signed that Kudus from Ajax as well that only briefly got on, but again, you're from the European games that we've seen him, he looks a player as well. So they looked from a club that was kind of it looked like behind the scenes there was some fallouts and they wasn't doing a lot of business. They've gone and signed some top players on a budget, and it looks like they've invested that Rice money pretty well.
Yeah, no, they really have, and I think there's just a difference with spending smart and just going fucking mental, and that's what Chelsea have done. And I think Todd Boehly has put Chelsea in the situation that they're in right now. They're like forced into a transition.
Well, I mean, again, just comparing the market, you look at what Tottenham have paid for Maddison. Maddison walks into Chelsea's team.
Yeah, 100%, easily.
40 million, he walks in, and you just obviously money's no object. They can go and do what they want, but yeah, it's
it's a weird one. But who knows? We may be sitting here in April, May time, and Chelsea may be in the top four, and we'll be sitting here. How wrong were we?
Yeah,
but who knows? Yeah. But then, as we were talking then about Gravenberch, Liverpool came away with a comfortable victory, 3-0 win over Aston Villa against a Villa team that looked quite convincing in the opening weeks.
They just seem to blow hot and cold.
They really do.
They've looked really good in stages this season, and thumped by Newcastle, and convincingly seen off by Liverpool as well, without really laying a glove on them. So but when they're on form and they're playing well, they look a serious team. Whether or not they were feeling the effects of obviously that Thursday Sunday, which they're not used to, who knows? But I think they must have rotated the squad quite a bit for obviously having such a big lead and Hibs coming down. So I can't imagine too many first team players were out for that. I didn't watch the game, but whether or not that had some impact, I don't know. But they just they looked flat, and Liverpool eased to
It just looked
to
easy for them, didn't it? Yeah.
and then just off the back of rejecting 150 million for
Mo Salah.
Mohamed
Yeah.
Salah.
Did you see that video that got leaked about him going to Al Ittihad?
No.
So, it was really weird. So he's just on a sunbed, like going through Twitter on his phone, and he's going through like all Al Ittihad's tweets and stuff, and he's like smiling, and he goes right to the top of their profile page, blocks the channel, and then puts on a Liverpool shirt.
Oh.
Again, got leaked, so this isn't Liverpool's doing by all means, but I don't know who is behind that idea, but I mean 150 million for Mo Salah.
Yeah, I think it's the time they've come in the window.
That's
If
the
they're-
thing, because he's he's Liverpool's best player, and to fill those boots on the final day of the transfer window is never going to be easy.
Yeah, I think if they'd have come in at the start of the summer with that kind of money,
They'd be talking, wouldn't they? Yeah.
yeah. But I don't think you were ever going to be able to go out and spend that money in the time frame they were given. So it would have been crazy to sell him. But 31-year-old, I imagine next summer, it may not be that much, but I imagine next summer if they're going to get 80, 90 million because he's a year older, I think you take it.
Yeah, exactly. And one last note on Aston Villa. See this boy here, Matty Cash, yeah? See this boy here? 2 goals against Burnley, and I leave him on the bench in my fantasy football team. Starting putting back in, yeah. You see you, Matty Cash, right? A wise man once said, in the words of the late Bray Wyatt, the next time you see me, run. Bastard. And then, of course, the big talking point was the Arsenal United game. Arsenal coming away with a 3-1 victory in the end. Again, another game full of controversy, where there was penalty shouts, offsides, was it offside, was it onside? But ultimately, Arsenal came away with the 3 points. 2 late goals from Declan Rice, his first goal for Arsenal, and then to put the nail in the coffin from Gabby Jesus. Was a very, very heated game to watch, that was.
Yeah, it was strange. Arsenal go behind. United have barely crossed the halfway line, and Rashford put someone up, and then they managed to hold that lead for 10 seconds, maybe. Odegaard levels things up.
Pretty much was it, yeah.
Odegaard levels it up, and it kind of back and forth. United look very disjointed at the moment. I don't know. They're just, to be fair, the Norwegian boy that come on that they'd signed from Atalanta, he looked decent.
Yeah. Haaland,
certainly looked like he was given more than Anthony Martial, and certainly looked like a very good option. But he's a big price tag, and he'll have big pressure on his shoulders. But he did look good when he come on. VAR. I don't know. I don't quite understand. I don't think it was a penalty, but I don't understand how it could be overturned, because I don't think it was clear and obvious. Because there was contact, and then he goes down. I think maybe Havertz's reputation of maybe going down a little bit easy has gone against him. Although that should be something that factored in. But yeah, I don't quite understand how that was overturned. I don't quite understand how United don't have a penalty. You can just drag people down, apparently.
Hmm.
Um, the offside is incredibly tight. I think he's maybe just off.
Like a very small fraction,
Yeah,
just off.
and that's
And
where
yeah, and looking at the replay, he does look just off. It's incredibly tight, and by all means, I can understand that Ten Hag would be upset about it because he may see it as if he's in line with Saliba or whoever it was.
Gabriel, I think, is
Was it
the guy
Gabriel? Yeah.
that's trying to step up. Yeah, and then obviously, that they go from, thinking they've snatched the game, done a snatch and grab job, to ending up conceding a really sloppy goal again from a set piece deflection. Anana's beat at his front post. Um, it's not great. And then, like you said, as they're pushing for an equaliser, they get undone, and Jesus with a very nice finish, and the game looks far more comfortable than it actually was. But huge for Arsenal. If you're gonna
Massive
go and
result, yeah.
you're gonna push City, then you need to win these type of games. You need to make sure that they don't get too far in front too early, and they look in some form this season already. So yeah, look, I think they've Everton next, away at Goodison, and they won't have fond memories of going there. They always seem to struggle at Goodison.
Yeah, that's
Um,
yeah, true.
but Everton, I mean, it was a great game to watch, the neutral, the Sheffield United Everton game, but looked like two poor teams again playing that.
Yeah.
And then obviously, the North London derby, which would be huge, because Tottenham have started very well.
Yeah, again, they won again this weekend as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they thumped Burnley or something, didn't they? 5-2 or something.
That's it, yeah, 5-2 against Burnley. Again, Ange is really, and I hate to bring his name up because there's always like that. It feels like the sentiment of what he brought to Celtic does hit home sometimes, but like he is bringing good times back to Spurs.
Yeah, he was always going to. They were always going to get back, the type of football that Tottenham were built on. Playing that open and attacking football. That's his philosophy. That's what he was always going to do. But champagne football, they're getting results. I think they play. I think they've got Sheffield United next, and then obviously into Arsenal. So that'll be a big test. See how they stack up against one of the favourites to be up at the top end of the league this season. And I think that'll be their real test, because some would say United, but United just, I said, there just seems to be something broken there at the moment.
Do you see United making the top four?
Start of the season, I probably would have said yes, but from what I've seen of them, especially that second half against Spurs, the Wolves game wasn't great. They didn't really have like an attacking impetus in the Arsenal game. They were just kind of hitting on the counter. I think they need to fix some things and fix them quickly, because I think they'll struggle
No, absolutely.
at the moment.
No.
But I mean, you look at the likes of Newcastle again. They haven't started brilliantly either, and a lot of people had them up there. So I think a lot of teams are stuttering, which is giving people the chance to kind of go. But Liverpool are looking far more like themselves across the last couple of seasons than what they obviously did last year. Tottenham are playing some nice stuff and dispatching, but still early. But I think there's worrying signs for the likes of United that Newcastle have obviously picked up some poor results,
Yeah.
but what they have done is they've looked good in games. The Liverpool game that they let slip. I didn't see I think it was the Brighton game. But again, Brighton as well. They're another team flying under the radar, playing really, really well. So yeah,
and can we say how fantastic their recruitment team is as well? Like you think of the players that they've lost in Caicedo. I mean, they've still obviously got a few of their big players that I expected to go in the summer. Like I thought Matoma was going to be off.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at, like you said, the players they've lost, like Ben White,
Ben
Kukurea,
White, Cucurella,
Basuma.
Sanchez between the sticks, and
Yeah,
they've just managed to fill those voids with
and I
no
mean,
with no
Ansu
hesitation.
Fati on loan.
I mean, I was Ansu Fati on loan.
That's that's a bit nuts, isn't it?
And I
Fair
didn't
play to
even
him.
know about this either. Like my boss came to me the other day and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to put Ansu Fati in my fantasy league team." I was like, "You what?" I was like, "Yeah, he's gone to Brighton." What the fuck off has he gone to Brighton? Get out your ass, man. And
Yeah,
turn on to Sky Sports and go, "Yeah, that's actually happened." Yeah. But again, they've got such an exciting team I mean, not just with Ansu Fati coming in, that Enciso on the wing looks a real player. Evan Ferguson, who casually dispatched a hat-trick past Newcastle on Saturday. I mean, my word, like, it feels like sky's the limit right now with Brighton, and with the project they've got working with at the moment, they could really go places.
yeah. Look, a good draw in the Europa League as well. Some nice places for them to go,
Yeah.
but they look a real top side. And I mean, if you can, let's be honest, if you can attract someone like Ansu Fati from Barcelona, whether he's fallen out of favour a wee bit anyway or whatever, the fact that Barcelona feel that that is the place for him to go and develop speaks volumes. So
Absolutely.
and yeah, they do it the right way. You know, they bring people in, develop them, sell them on, have a great model. But yeah, every time they go back to the well, they recruit fantastically well, and even like players like Solly March and people like this that just seem to kick on season after
Yeah,
season.
and still performing brilliantly and contributing with goals and assists on a consistent basis.
Yeah, so fair play to them. Wish them wish them all the best. I think it's their brilliant story. Great football club. You know, really really close to the community. Beautiful stadium, the Amex. Um, Great night out as well.
Oh,
So
great night out, yeah.
if you're looking for a great away day, if you're not a Brighton fan and you're in the Premier League, tick it off, mate. Get it done. It's a
Yeah, we know a good
crack.
hostel as well.
Well, I don't, but used to.
Yeah, you had it good that night.
I lost my wallet that night, didn't I?
Let's
That
not.
was
I don't want to recollect too much from that weekend, but yeah. But yeah, no, most of the night went really well. Look, Mayhem, thank you so much for this evening. Pleasure as always. Kick on again next week. I mean, I guess we'll have some international football to discuss, and
maybe a little bit of football tenable or something to flesh out the episode a bit because I don't think Steve Clark isn't really inspirational. I don't see me talking about that for too long.
no, I think it's the same with Rob Page at the moment. Things aren't going so well for him either, so we'll have to wait and see if we can make an episode of something. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, ladies and gents, thank you very much for tuning in. If you are new to the Football Big Podcast, you can check us out on all audio platforms, including Spotify, Apple, and Audible. If you'd like to see us over on YouTube in the live recordings, check out our YouTube channel. Whilst you're over there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and until next week, ladies and gents, I bid you all good night and a star.